Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, a show celebrating and questioning one of the most beloved entertainment companies in the world through honest, passionate, and clear-eyed Disney discussions. I'm Jeff DePauli, your entertainment-obsessed host with rose-colored glasses removed. Today in the show, we have the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by laughingplace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on February 23rd, 2022, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. The Walt Disney Company is building residential communities, Chippendale are bringing the nostalgia, John Williams is writing yet another Star Wars theme, and more.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
Let's start with some older but important news that was released a while back during the Disney Coast to Coast hiatus. Walt Disney Archives founder Dave Smith is the latest person to be honored with a window on Main Street, USA. The display can be spotted at Disneyland Park just above the Fortuosity Shop, with the window reading, New Century Historical Society, Dave Smith, Town Archivist, preserving, protecting, and presenting our fond memories of the past. The window was initially set to be revealed in June 2020, although that was delayed for obvious reasons. Smith passed away in 2019 at the age of 78. He was originally hired by Walt's brother Roy in 1970. He was named a Disney legend in 2007 and retired from the company in 2010, handing the reins of the archives he worked to build and preserve to Becky Klein. Be sure to check out this honorary display on your next stroll down Main Street, USA. Disney legend Tim Allen is set to reprise his role as Scott Calvin in a new series for Disney Plus based on the 1994 film The Santa Claus. In the Disney Plus series, Scott Calvin is on the brink of his 65th birthday and realizing that he can't be Santa forever. He's starting to lose a step in his Santa duties, and more importantly, he's got a family who could benefit from a life in the normal world, especially his two kids who have grown up at the North Pole. With a lot of elves, children, and family to please, Scott sets out to find a suitable replacement Santa while preparing his family for a new adventure in a life south of the pole. Production on the series is set to begin next month, with Allen also serving as executive producer alongside Kevin Hench, Richard Baker, Rick Messina, and showrunner Jack Burdett. No debut date for the Santa Claus has been announced at this time, but you can likely bet it will arrive during the holiday season in 2022 or 2023. Those looking forward to Pixar's Turning Red will either be pleased or frustrated to hear that the film will be bypassing cinemas and heading straight to Disney Plus next month. This is actually the third straight Pixar film to be sent directly to Disney Plus following Soul in 2020 and Luca in 2021. Prior to that, Onward also saw a shortened theatrical run due to the pandemic and arrived on streaming early. Looking ahead, Disney has been playing coy about the plan for Pixar's Lightyear, only saying that the film is releasing on June 17th without indicating where. In any case, you can catch Turning Red on Disney Plus March 11th. Ironically, while Turning Red is going directly to streaming, Walt Disney Animation's Encanto recently returned to theaters as the film has become a cultural phenomenon. In particular, the music penned by Lin-Manuel Miranda has set new records as the song We Don't Talk About Bruno has topped the Billboard Hot 100 singles chart and put the film's soundtrack at number 1 on the Billboard 200 albums chart for 6 non-consecutive weeks and counting. Of course, the popularity has also inspired plenty of memes, TikTok trends, and much more. If you somehow haven't seen the movie yet, it is now streaming on Disney Plus, while the soundtrack can be found on your favorite streaming service. And now for some more current news. Disney Cruise Line's latest ship, the Disney Wish, may not be sailing just yet, but it has taken to the water. Recently, the ship floated out of an enclosed building dock at the Meyer Werft shipyard in Papenburg, Germany, marking a major construction milestone. However, this float-out does come after Disney was forced to postpone the Wish's maiden voyage due to shipyard delays. Now, the ship will set sail on July 14th as opposed to the previous June 9th date. The good news is that those affected by the shift will be compensated by receiving 50% off of their rescheduled cruise. Not a bad deal. When guests do board the Disney Wish this summer, one of the offerings they'll find is a sweet shop themed to Pixar's Inside Out. While similar to Bing Bong's sweet stuff at Pixar Pier, this new treat shop will be called Inside Out Joyful Sweets. In this dazzling shop, guests will find an abundance of handmade gelato, ice cream, candy, and novelty treats for purchase. Of course, this is just one of several themed offerings coming to the Disney Wish, with other areas featuring Disney princesses, characters from Star Wars and Marvel, and many others. Plus, with the inaugural sailing still just a few months away, expect to discover even more details about the Disney Wish in the coming weeks. Effective February 17th, the domestic Disney parks have once again adjusted their masking policies. Now, face coverings are optional both outdoors and indoors for fully vaccinated guests. However, Disney expects guests who are not fully vaccinated to continue wearing face coverings in all indoor locations, including indoor attractions and theaters. We all know that's not going to happen. Additionally, face coverings will continue to be required for all guests to and up, regardless of vaccination status on enclosed Disney transportation. This new policy is now in effect at both the Walt Disney World and Disneyland resorts. This week, Disneyland offered a few more details on its upcoming overhaul of Mickey's Toontown. First, the land will close its gates starting on March 9th and will remain unavailable until sometime in early 2023. When it reopens, Mickey's house, Minnie's house, and the beloved Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin will return. However, Goofy's house, Donald's boat, and Gadget's Go Coaster are all set to be reimagined in new and exciting ways. Of course, Toontown will also be adding the West Coast version of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway upon its reopening. Those looking to check out the current version of Mickey's Toontown should be sure to head on down to the Disneyland Resort by March 8th. Throughout February, the Disneyland Resort is celebrating Magic Key holders with the aptly named Magic Key Celebration Month. Among the offerings for this promotion are a pair of complimentary sunglasses that key holders can pick up in the Performance Corridor of Disney California Adventure, near the entrance to Cars Land and near the Walt Disney Imagineering Blue Sky Cellar at the Golden Vine Winery. Additionally, Magic Key members can find artwork giveaways at select locations, including World of Disney and Wonderground Gallery at Downtown Disney. Elsewhere, an exclusive Magic Key drink tumbler is available for purchase at select locations. 3 Magic Key branded phone cases can be found at retailers around the resort. The Amat Gin cocktail can be enjoyed by key holders at Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen, and more. For details on Magic Key Celebration Month, check out at Disneyland Magic Key on Instagram or the Disneyland Magic Key Facebook page. It looks as though John Williams isn't done with the Star Wars galaxy just yet. The legendary composer will be contributing the musical signature for the upcoming Disney Plus series, Obi-Wan Kenobi. According to Variety, the musical piece was recorded earlier this month with a Los Angeles orchestra under tight security. While Williams will be providing this element, it has yet to be announced who will be scoring the 6 individual episodes. Obi-Wan Kenobi is set to debut on Disney Plus May 25th, exactly 45 years after Star Wars A New Hope was originally released in theaters. The adorable-looking Winnie the Pooh, the new musical adaptation, is making a return to the Big Apple this summer. Following a record-breaking New York premiere in 2021 and a spring 2022 run in Chicago, the show will begin a 6-week run at Theater Row beginning June 18th. The show is told using life-size puppetry and features the Sherman Brothers classic Grammy Award-winning music, with additional songs by A.A. Milne. For more information and to purchase tickets, be sure to visit WinnieThePoohShow.com. Funko Games just announced a slate of Disney games coming this year, including 2 new Disney Parks-inspired games. The first is based on the classic attraction Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which is appropriately subtitled The Wildest Game in the Wilderness. Meanwhile, another upcoming release, Disney Happiest Day Magic Kingdom Park Edition, invites players to spend a day in the parks. Elsewhere, Funko is also releasing a Goofy movie game, a return of the Headless Horseman game, Princess Pattern Party, and more. Each of these items is set to debut this spring, so keep your eyes peeled. And now it's time to bring back Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com. How is it going, Kyle? Long time, no chat.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time. I almost forgot about it, except I would think of you every week because I do have reminders set for myself, and I didn't bother to turn them off. So every Sunday and Monday, I'd get little reminders about Jeff, so...
Oh, well, that's very sweet. I shut off all the reminders because I definitely need a little bit of a little time off, and then come back and get excited about it. And as I was reading the news and, the lovely script that you send me, I was like, oh, this is fun. This is exciting. So I'm happy to have you back. Of course, we talked a little bit, but not specifically about this kind of stuff during the hiatus. So let's jump in. The first bit of news during the hiatus, D23 Expo tickets went on sale, and they are selling selling very well. And this is kind of a new phenomenon, I would say. Like, I remember the last Expo, which was 2019. That was the first time that there were like sold out days that I remember. Is that right?
I honestly don't remember. I feel like that there were certain days. Like I feel like the Saturday would sell out a couple of years, but
or if it did, it would be like day of. It would sell out.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is becoming.
I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I think it's fair.
Yeah, because I never remember people having a problem. Like the last Expo, I remember some people who procrastinated being like, I can't get 3-day tickets, and Saturday sold out as well. So like they were kind of screwed. So if you're interested in Expo from here on out, it seems like get them when they go on sale, because currently all 3-day tickets are sold out, as well as all Saturday tickets are sold out, which means you can get a Friday ticket and or a Sunday ticket. But it is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, which makes sense because it's hitting more and more fan bases, right? We got Marvel people coming in, Lucasfilm people coming, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, this is kind of becoming like Comic-Con, where you may have to book your tickets like a year in advance sort of thing and hope that you get what you want.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure people have questions about whether they lowered the capacity this time, but I feel like at a certain point, like, how much of a difference is it really going to make in terms if you're trying to like mitigate for COVID reasons?
Yeah. I always just got my D23 tickets the day they went on sale, just because I was always like, oh, I'm going to go, so get the tickets, right? Plus, they used to incentivize. They didn't do it this time. But you used to have like a few months that if you were like an early bird buyer, you saved a good chunk of change. And that is not the case anymore, sadly.
Well, they also used to go on sale a lot earlier.
True.
Like a year beforehand. So this time it was only a few months.
Yeah, it used to be a year to the day beforehand that they would go on sale. I think that's kind of just everything right now, because everybody's kind of like, okay, we're getting back to normal, but we're not there. And let's just see how, let's not plan things a year in advance. Let's plan things 6 months in advance. So that's kind of where we are. It'll be interesting to see if next time around, whether or not they go back to that year format or not, year advance selling tickets. But in any case, they're on sale. I got my tickets. Do you have your tickets? Or your booth,
I have
or
alternate means.
Are you guys got your booth already?
I believe we are, yeah.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So look for the Laughing Place booth at the D23 Expo. And just look for me wandering around. Okay, let's move on to some really big news this week. And that is the fact that Disney will be building planned residential communities, which they're calling Storyliving by Disney. I actually really like this name. I don't know how you feel about it. Just an alternative storytelling, story living. I think it's kind of clever.
It sounds very real estate. Like I could definitely see, even if Disney didn't do it, I could see like a story living. And especially with the buy Disney just really sells it. I'm like, oh, I could see that on like, as you drive up to a gate, story living by Disney on the wall.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Lion Estates, driving by like Back to the Future sort of thing. It's fitting. But in any case, these are vibrant new neighborhoods that are infused with the company's special brand of magic. These master planned communities are intended to inspire residents to foster new friendships, pursue their interests, and write the next exciting chapter in their lives, all while enjoying the attention to detail, unique amenities, and special touches that are Disney hallmarks. Through a club membership, Disney will also provide access to curated experiences such as wellness programming, entertainment ranging from live performances to cooking classes, philanthropic endeavors, seminars, and much more. Now, the first Story Living by Disney community is being built as we speak in Rancho Mirage, California, a Coachella Valley city where Walt himself once owned a home. They always love to bring Walt back into it in whatever way they can, whether it's a really random quote that doesn't quite fit, but they make it fit, or, part of his history. And of course, they did that with this. And the community will be known as Cotino. And they're also looking at other locations in the U.S. to do the same thing for future development. So, I mean, it's interesting to me, but at the same time, I'm like, sounds familiar as well. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, some of the past things were what?
Well, you have Celebration and Golden Oak, which they still own. Obviously, the Celebration they've kind of left, which is another interesting situation because it makes you wonder, like, what would happen if they pull out of this? Because they're not the ones building the homes. They're essentially, what's really odd about this is they're kind of an HOA. So, they're going to provide some of the amenities, and it's going to be a mixed use community. So you'll have, retail and stuff there, which is kind of fun, and they'll bring a little bit of that. But if, this doesn't work out and they decide to leave, is it going to be like Celebration where it's just, oh, Disney used to own this and it's this weird sort of relic that's now just a normal town?
Yeah, and I would go back even further to it didn't get built, but this is what Walt Disney's Epcot was.
I mean, it's a little less ambitious than that.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to be revolutionizing just because they're going to be having cooking demos.
Sure, but I think it goes back. It goes back to some really far back company history, I would say. And then, like you said, Celebration Florida, which was a really big deal. I remember when that was all happening and everybody was like, oh my gosh, Disney's going to own a city. And then I don't even know why. Why did they get rid of it?
I don't know. I wonder if it has to do with just the perception of it. I think when people think of Disney building a community, they think Stepford.
It does feel a little Stepford vibes-y. There's no question about it. It's a little, even watching the videos, I don't know, it's like those videos you see in the Terminator or something where and the world will be perfect, but then there's this really dark backstory to it that's a little scary if you dig too deep. But Disney's brand is magic and perfection and all that stuff, and they even have areas that are going to be 55 plus only. So for those folks, and we're seeing more and more of that, right? We're seeing Disney kind of lean into the adult-only experience more, other than in the theme parks, where they still don't have their adult-only days. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to me. I do feel like it's something they've tried before, and I guess haven't succeeded at. So maybe try again? I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea where this is really going to go. And it's interesting that you mentioned the 55 and over thing, because 55 and over, you think of it as being a retirement community, but 55 these days is a completely different demographic than it was, 20 years ago even.
Well, what's interesting, though, is that this is 55 and over in a world where a lot of people now work from home. And let's face it, this was being planned far before pandemic, but right. We are in a kind of a remote world. So there will be a lot of people who still work. Because I should mention, this is in the middle of nowhere. This is literally the middle of the desert.
It's kind of near Palm Springs, but also not.
Yeah, so it's not near major industry of any kind. So you're either retired or working from home, most likely, if you move here. The other thing I should mention is it sounded like you're going to be able to visit even if you don't live there, right? There's going to be entertainment offerings. Did you not see that?
I mean, it would make sense. Like, I'm sure that there's some things you can't do. Like, they're going to have a clubhouse with a pool. I'm sure you won't be able to do that. But if they're going to have businesses there, then I'm sure that those businesses don't want to just cater to people that live there. So it would make sense that they'd have like a main street that you could visit and things like that.
Yeah, so it's someplace I would definitely go visit. I don't see myself buying a home here for many, many reasons, but I don't know. Living in the middle of the nowhere, in the middle of nowhere doesn't exactly excite me, but I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous. The renderings look gorgeous, and I think that this is just further proof that the Walt Disney Company is leaning further and further into catering to the ultra wealthy, which we're seeing time and time again in the parks and everywhere, in the Galactic Star Cruiser. All these experiences are for the ultra wealthy, and this is just kind of the next step. And Disney's always looking for new income streams, and this makes sense. So we're getting it.
Well, we'll see if it's more expensive than Golden Oak or not.
Yeah, is Golden Oak insane?
I mean, it depends on the house, but yeah, $4 million. This is California, so I'm sure it'll probably be up there, but it's also the desert and not LA.
Yeah, they probably got the land for dirt cheap. Or sand cheap, maybe. I don't know.
It reminds me of Glengarry Glen Ross when I hear Rancho Mirage, the Rio Rancho leads.
I don't get the reference, but I'll assume it's good. I saw that play on Broadway, Glengarry Glen Ross, with the one with Liev Schreiber and Jeffrey Tambor, and
I saw it with I completely just forgot his name, but the guy from MASH.
Yeah, and Alan Alda. Yep,
yeah, Alan Alda was
that production. Yeah, it was an all-star production, and I saw it, and I can't really tell you anything about it. I don't remember it that well, but I remember in the moment really enjoying it and being like, wow, this is an all-star cast. So in any case, let's move on to the next story, which I'm going to need your help with, because Disney is prepping for the Metaverse by creating a new executive position to explore its possibilities. There is a new senior vice president for next generation storytelling and consumer experiences. That position went to Mike White. Now, the word Metaverse describes a fully realized digital world that exists beyond the one in which we live. So, like, is Ready Player One becoming real life? Is that
That's
what's
how
happening?
I was going to explain it too. Yeah, that's the only comparison that we can make, is this is like basically Ready Player One.
Okay, so I kept hearing about Metaverse with Facebook, right? Facebook is, in fact, didn't they change their name to Meta?
They changed the name to, the company name is Meta.
Okay. And so, like, it's just so weird to me because it kind of reminds me of like the whole like vacationing in space thing where I'm like, okay, like I know we've been talking about this for decades now, but this is actually going to happen. And part of my question with the Metaverse thing is like, do people really want this to happen?
I don't know how to answer that.
Do you want it to happen?
I think that there's opportunity. I think we're probably thinking about it in different ways. Like I wonder how they're envisioning it, because there's already, Oculus and people have VR, and so you basically just be doing that, but being able to do different things in VR than just having like singular, small, short experiences. I don't think it would necessarily be for me, but maybe, it depends on, I'm sure it's going to evolve. Like I'm sure the first time you heard of the internet and AOL, you're like, oh, what is there to do? Why am I typing A/S/L into a chat room? But maybe, it evolves past that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just picture it as a world where people spend the majority of their time. And I'm like, why do you want to live it? I'm not a gamer. So, but it also sounds like it's trying to like really be something that most people take part in. And like, I'm not really sure what Facebook plans on doing with it. And I guess none of us really know, right? Like this is all behind closed doors at this point, but
well, what they want to do is make money with it. That's the part.
Sure.
It's like, I think you hear NFTs go hand in hand with the metaverse a lot of the times. And I know that Disney's already partnered with companies to sell NFTs, but recently there's been some job listings with people who have experience with that. So I'm sure we're going to get more of that. And that'll be part of this metaverse push.
Yeah, I guess I've hit an age where I'm just like, what? Like even the NFT thing, I'm like, why? I just don't like paying for something that I'm like, I don't own it. It's this fake thing that exists in the air, but it's just the future, I guess. And of course, listen, Disney has to at least try this. They have to put their finger on the pulse and be part of it, even if they decide to do nothing with it, which I'm sure they won't decide to do nothing with it. But I don't know. It's the future. I just don't get the appeal. Well, let's fast forward 10 years in the future. I'm still doing this podcast and I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. But right now I'm like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's fair. Can I issue a PSA real quick?
Yes, please.
I have been served ads on Instagram and Facebook for something that says Disneyverse. And when you go to the site, it looks pretty decent. Like you can find a couple of like small things that don't seem quite off, but the way that they have the sign up, it looks almost exactly like a Disney sign up. It's a total scam. Don't fall for it. Like it says like, oh, you'll be able to buy these tokens and you'll get to ride virtual Space Mountain and things like that. Be wary of those. Report them if you find them. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen it, but I got it like 2 days in a row, different URLs hopping around. So
wow.
Be wary as Disney gets into this. Make sure that it actually is Disney and not someone just trying to capitalize on that metaverse and Disney connection.
And they actually used the term Space Mountain in this, like they were using in the word Disney and stuff.
Oh, it was totally like they could get sued into the Stone Age if Disney found it. But yeah, no, it was a huge scam.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks for the PSA, and perhaps I'll see you in the Metaverse sometime. Is this something that you feel, I don't know, could this be worked into the parks? Like I said, I don't quite grasp.
I think it's the other way around. I think the vision, kind of like that scam was saying, like you could ride Space Mountain from home and be, like we've obviously had all sorts of different virtual Magic Kingdoms before, but on a grander scale. And if they're looking for ways at doing storytelling in it, then I guess it's just, different experiences. I feel like a lot of this is just a buzzword for an extension of VR at this point.
That's what I was just going to say. Is Metaverse VR, essentially? If you're living in a digital world, does that mean you have VR goggles on and you're living in it that way? Or is it where they're trying to go augmented reality where like you're actually in the real world?
Well, they're all both, I would assume. I don't know the exact definition, but I think it's probably just a bunch of different things we've seen before. Like, they've had the Second Life game forever, and then there's VR and AR. Like, people aren't necessarily unfamiliar with these different elements, but I feel like this is all just putting it together and taking it to another level. That's my very basic understanding from someone who also, like you, kind of cringes at it and doesn't really care to learn more at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Well, the Metaverse, it's coming to a world.
Someone's getting paid to think about it at Disney right now.
That's a nice gig, isn't it?
That's the takeaway. We don't have to think about it because somebody at Disney is.
All right. Well, that's happening in the future. But right now, the world, or at least a lot of people in the world, have lost their damn minds when it comes to Figment buckets. This happened over the hiatus, but we had to talk about it. I mean, this Figment bucket phenomenon in Epcot is absolute insanity. And listen, I get it. There are fandoms out there. If there was a Wayne Zielinski bucket, you bet your bottom dollar I'd go out of my way and wait in a long line to get it. I just can't believe that there are this many Figment fans in the world. I just don't believe it. So what has happened?
Well, a few things. I think there are people who legitimately like Figment, but then those people have been so vocal that they've turned other people onto it. And then I think it still has that sort of thing where you feel like you're in the cool kids club because you know about Figment. Like, it's still the one that people point to along with Orange Bird and think that they're special because they are aware of this character and like it so much. And I think and then also resellers know that. And so then you have people going to get these so that they know that they're going to be able to, bulk up the price and things like that. So it's kind of just, a snake eating its tail.
It's insanity. And first of all, my biggest problem with this is we need to stop using the word popcorn bucket. These things are not popcorn buckets. They make them they put holes in the bodies of these things just to say it's a popcorn bucket, but like, it's the most awkward bucket on the face of the earth. Why can't they just call them plastic statues or something? Like, I don't get it.
The answer is going to probably frustrate you, but I imagine it has to do with the fact that the food and beverage department gets credit for selling them instead of the merchandising department.
Then make it a sipper. Like, at least that would make more sense. A popcorn bucket? There's nothing. The Millennium Falcon one was like the worst. I'm like, there is nothing that says bucket about this.
No, that's I would take issue with that. I think the worst was actually one of the Haunted Mansion ones that was supposed to be like a beignet holder.
I don't remember that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't. People have gone crazy. I mean, people were waiting in like 7-hour lines or something.
I think on the first day it was like 7 hours, and they sold out within a few days. But then randomly on Valentine's Day, they created a whole different system that worked infinitely better. That I'm sure that they wish they would have come up with this the first time, because
I think they knew it was going to be the problem it was, and they just wanted the social media coverage. Let's face it. Everybody was tweeting about 7-hour lines. Everybody.
Well, they don't measure success by 7-hour popcorn lines.
Yeah, okay, sure. That was my biggest argument. When that whole famous quote of Bob Chapek saying, waiting in a 10-hour line for a ride isn't a good guest experience, when he was, knocking Universal for their Hagrid's lines. I'm sorry, but waiting in a 10-hour line for a fantastic ride like Hagrid's makes a hell of a lot more sense than waiting in a 7-hour line for a Figment, quote, popcorn bucket. Ugh, don't even get me going. Ugh, it's crazy to me. But for those of you who got it and love it, I hope you truly love it and enjoy it. I just can't believe there are that many people who really wanted it that badly. And it's baffling to me.
Well, I guess we'll see with future releases, because I think the mobile order thing made a lot more sense. It obviously alleviated the lines. And it also has a record of your purchase tied to your account, so it makes it harder to keep going through and buying more. So just a 7-hour line, but...
You mentioned mobile order. I've just got to say, I recently did, what was it? It was Lunar New Year or something. And this mobile order situation has gotten out of control. I mean, I'm sure you've done the parks. They're encouraging mobile order so much. And I get it, during pandemic, it was like a requirement for safety reasons. But guess what? We're beyond that point. But they're encouraging it so much that they're now down to like one register to take regular walk-up orders. And then everything else is mobile order. And guess what? Most people don't want a mobile order. It's a pain in the butt. And there's so many different things that could go wrong in there, or it won't accept certain discounts, yada, yada, this and that. And so it was an hour-and-a-half line. And on top of that, during the Lunar New Year, like food festival thing with the food lanyards, you know, the lanyards, and you rip off the little tag and you give it and you get the food. Okay, you can't mobile order with those. So you're having a food festival where the majority of people probably bought that.
I thought they didn't have mobile order for any of the food any of the Lunar New Year booths.
They had certain areas. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's like a normal walk-up window in Disney.
Okay,
California
so like
Adventure.
Not the booths, but like one of the actual okay.
Yeah, and like it was causing chaos. So you had people who they like legitimately couldn't use mobile order because of a limitation. And an hour and a half to get food. And I was just like, you know what? I'm not waiting in another line. I'm using all of my little tabs right now. Give me 6 items. And then I don't know if this was just that register or what, but like I couldn't order them all at once. They had to do like 6 different transactions and print out 6 different receipts. I'm like, this is a big problem. This is not a good guest experience. So the mobile order thing, they really need to stop shoving it down our throats. Like, I feel like I get it. Try something new, see if it takes off, see if it makes things easier. I'm sure they like having to hire less cast members to ring up registers and stuff, but like it ain't working. So unless the reason is you legitimately cannot hire people, they need to just be like, we got to put some more registers at this point.
Well, for the Figments thing, I will say it was different because it wasn't at an actual food location and it was only mobile order. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but you basically walk into a giant, ballroom.
I saw the table lined up with all the Figments. Yeah.
So,
crazy.
A little different situation.
I will say one good thing that might come from this whole Figment bucket situation is, I mean, seriously, if Disney's seeing people this excited about a popcorn bucket, like maybe they really will invest in a grand redo with Figment of the Imagination Pavilion. I mean, I kind of feel like they'd be silly not to at this point. No, you don't think so?
I like to think so.
You like to think so, but you don't think so.
I feel like we've switched places in this conversation all of a sudden.
How so?
Oh, because I'm usually the optimistic one. You're pessimistic and just kind of...
I mean, listen, it made them a lot of money. Those were like $25 a piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
It came with rainbow popcorn, which you wouldn't know because nobody showed it or ate it.
Because it doesn't fit inside the quote-unquote bucket. That's why you wouldn't know. Didn't it come in like a separate bag or something?
It came in a bag inside of the bucket.
Yeah, okay, whatever. It's not a popcorn bucket.
For a while, they ran out of the popcorn, so you got a popcorn bucket, quote-unquote, and a spork. Because, makes perfect sense. A Figment spork.
So this was like the lightsaber situation where they ran out of those bags to put them in. They put them in plastic bags, and everybody went in an uproar over that too.
Yeah. By the way,
yes.
On that, now that you mention this, I have to say that's awful. By the way, like I would be so mad if they just gave me the thing and then tried to upsell me.
We'll explain because we kind of just walk.
Okay, so they. While we were away, they ran out for a time of these cases that you get when you buy the $200 something lightsaber at Savi's. And they were just giving people plastic bags, but they weren't compensating them and giving them a discount or anything. And they're like, oh, well, if you want the case, we do have a few, but they're $50. And so understandable outrage, but people acted as if it was Bob Chapek's decision. And in reality, it's got to be just the opposite. It's that it didn't go far enough up the chain to get it fixed. And so once it did make it that far, then they did start offering discounts and things like that. But it's just funny the way people think that, that was an intentional move on Bob Chapek's part. It's like, no, it's kind of the opposite issue.
But at the same time, who in what position thought that their original solution was a good one? That's someone whose job should honestly they should be interviewed about and be like, what were you thinking? Because that's a horrible solution.
And we also, these things spread so quickly, so we don't know like how many groups of people just got really like, oh, we don't have any of them. Here's a bag. Let's hope no one notices. Like, I get it. I've been in that position where you're like, yeah, I should probably give you a free movie, but I'm going to give you a popcorn instead and hope it's going to be okay. And then find out that, oh, no, it was not.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, no rainbow popcorn for you then. Anyway, let's move on to a teaser trailer that we got released for the new Chippendale Rescue Rangers reboot that blends both live action and digital animation. It's coming May 20th, 2022 to Disney+. Now, the story's kind of interesting. It catches up with the former Disney Afternoon TV stars in modern-day Los Angeles. It's been decades since their successful television series was canceled, and Chip has succumbed to a life of suburban domesticity as an insurance salesman. Dale, meanwhile, has had CGI surgery and works the nostalgia convention circuit, desperate to relive his glory days. When a former castmate mysteriously disappears, Chippendale must repair their broken friendship and take on their Rescue Rangers detective personas once again to save their friend's life. I don't know about you. Listen, I've been hearing about the Chippendale reboot for a while. I didn't know that much about it, didn't realize it was going in this direction, and was like truly delighted by this trailer. This was so much fun.
We saw a tiny sneak peek when they did the Investor Day and announced it. Like they had like a little test footage, but I didn't know the entire story, but I could tell that it was going to be this kind of tone. And yeah, I thought this trailer was so much fun. I had like seeing the NES game. I'm like, yep, had that. There's all sorts of, and the attention to detail. I'm sure you saw the thing about the Magic Kingdom photo.
Yes. Yeah.
About
where,
how,
yeah, so there's a picture of Chippendale in front of Cinderella Castle, but it's supposed to be from a certain time period, and there was a specific detail that lived during that time period for a short period of time. What was the detail?
Like this colored flags on
a flag
some
or a
poles
banner
or something.
Yeah, and they got it right. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff in this. Even like, well, first of all, we got a cameo by Roger Rabbit, which is really cool.
And MC Scat Cat.
And Scrooge McDuck and Aladdin. And then we got some like kind of pop culture references, not Disney. We got a Jurassic Park reference, which is cool. Did I see My Little Pony in there?
Uh-huh.
Saw My Little Pony. Like, very cool. I love that this also featured so many different styles, from live action to not only animation, but like 2D flat animation to CG, the 3D animation sort of stuff. I don't think we've ever seen that before. We've seen the animation with live action, but to mix the different styles of animation into one thing, I think is so cool. And I just love the, CG facelift sort of thing.
The Uncanny Valley jokes.
Yeah, I don't know, it looks great. I didn't realize this was going to be a movie. I thought that they were actually bringing back a series. Do we know if this is a precursor to a series, or is this like a standalone?
As far as I've known, it's always been a movie.
Okay, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, that is May 20th, 2022. Look for that on Disney+. I gotta say, I grew up with Rescue Rangers for sure. In fact, I remember as a kid, whenever I went to the parks, Chippendale were always dressed as the Rescue Rangers. And I remember like once that started to fade away and I started to see traditional Chippendale again in the parks, it was like a novelty for me because I had only really, except for when I was super, super young, only ever seen them as the Rescue Rangers. So now it's kind of funny to go backwards and get excited about seeing them in those wardrobes again.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a picture of Chippendale, but I'm pretty sure they're in their regular clothes in Toontown.
Clothes.
Yeah, they're naked, basically.
Naked. Yeah, they're naked.
Back when their house used to actually, have fun stuff in it.
Yeah, I was walking through Toontown this past weekend, and my final time until it reopens. So there's going to be a lot of change there. I'm excited for the change coming to Toontown. Yeah, it's due.
Yeah, I'm glad Rogers is sticking around, and I feel like people who are upset about it probably haven't been there in a while, and what comes might not be that great, like if it's just going to be a bunch of green space and not many attractions, but that's kind of what's there now. Like, I mean, Goofy's house has been neutered for so long, and so has the Jolly Trolley and Chippendale's house, so it's time.
Yeah, so lots to look forward to, and I think that's going to do it for the news this week. Anything else you want to add, or anything exciting happened during hiatus that you want to let the folks know about?
Well, I went to Disneyland Paris once during hiatus, and I'm about to go again for the 30th anniversary celebration kickoff, so I'm excited for that.
How was it during the when you went? Was it just a vacation, or were you there for work?
For work, we were going to, they have this Inside Ears, and we went to their special event to celebrate the holidays. So I got to see Disneyland Paris at the holidays, which was nice. I think I've been once before for that, but...
I was over in London in December, finally made that trip happen, finally saw Back to the Future the musical, which, you know, it's what you would expect when you hear Back to the Future the musical, but no regrets. Prince of Egypt, I gotta say, is amazing. Loved Prince of Egypt, and they pro-shot it, so coming soon to a streaming service, I assume, but nothing's been announced yet. But I was hoping to get to Disneyland Paris while I was there, and
we were so close. We were around the same time, too.
Oh, the pandemic made it very, 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 very difficult, so it didn't happen, unfortunately. But I enjoyed my first time in London and saw a bunch of theater, which I was very, very happy to do. And so that's going to do it. Kyle, thanks so much for joining, and I'll talk to you again in a couple weeks with even more Disney news while you're in Disneyland Paris, right?
While I'm in the hotel room near Disneyland Paris, yes.
Excellent. Sounds good. I will talk to you soon.
All right.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think of the new trailer released for Chippendale Rescue Rangers? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569, and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Dizney, with a Z, Coast to Coast on your favorite podcast app. If you enjoy the show, consider supporting it at no extra cost to you. In fact, you'll save by using the discount code DCTC when shopping at Who's It's and What's It's. Who's It's and What's It's is where you can find all sorts of magically inspired apparel, from hats to shirts, pins, patches, jewelry, and more. One of my favorite items is the Neverland beanie featuring Peter Pan's iconic red feather. To check out all they have to offer, click on the Who's It's and What's It's link in this episode's description, and don't forget to use code DCTC to save yourself 15% off of your entire order. This episode has been executive produced by Robert Scontrino. Gain rewards like Robert, including access to never-before-heard episodes and live-stream Q&As by visiting the Patreon link in this episode's description. Basically, anything you need can be found in this episode's description, from additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, to the DCTC hotline where you can leave a voicemail and can be heard on a future episode, access to the show's official website, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at DePodcastNetwork.com. That's DEPodcastNetwork.com.